All right, a couple days ago, we were working on the lesson with dealing with diameter, radius, talking about the different things. So I want to continue that lesson, but one thing I do want to remind you, and let me go to this next screen here. Tomorrow, you have a vocabulary test. All of you should have the words, you should have the definitions. You need to make sure that you understand the words, you need to make sure that you understand the definitions. So the vocabulary test is tomorrow. All right, so let me go back to where we were. So what I want to do is, if you will draw this circle, and if you will label these components of the circle as K, L, and M. If you look at this circle, the distance from K to M represents the distance across the entire circle, and it goes to the center. So as we know from talking about it the other day, that represents the diameter. Now the diameter goes all the way. The radius, on the other hand, goes halfway. So an example of a radius here would be K to L, or also M to L. We also talk about how the diameter equals 2 times the radius. All right, so what I want us to do here is let's take a look at this particular problem. So if you will copy, actually I don't want you to mark through it. If you will please copy that part, and if you'll copy that part please. All right, we know from K to M, this distance right here, that distance is 2x minus 4. We know the distance from L to M is 12. All right, we're going to use this formula right here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take that formula and I'm going to substitute the information that I have. We know that the diameter is the distance all the way across, so that would be this distance from K to M. That distance is 2x minus 4. We know the radius is halfway, so the halfway measurement would be from M to L, or L to M. And so that would be 12. So all I'm doing is taking that formula that we talked about the other day that you should have in your notes and plug in and substitute the information in. So all I'm going to do is work through this formula. 2x minus 4 stays the way it is because we can multiply 2 and 12, and that gives us 24. All right, all you're doing is solving the equation. So as we know, we take care of addition, subtraction first, and then we take care of multiplying and dividing. So see, I have a minus 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 4 to both sides. These two cancel out. I'm going to drop down or bring down that 2x. 24 and 4 give you 28. Well, if it's going to work, let me turn the board off and turn it back on real quick, so give me just a second, let it come back. So we know 24 plus 4 is 28. That gives me 28. So I've taken care of the adding or subtracting. And now we can see if I have any multiplying or dividing. 2x is the multiplication. So the inverse, or the way we undo it, is to divide. That cancels out. So that leaves x equals 14. Now, one of the things that we can do is always check our work. So if I take this value for x, and I was to substitute it back into the problem, what I would do is I would take 2x minus 4, and I would substitute it in. So I know x equals 14, so I'm going to just kind of go right here. 2 times 14 is 28. 28 minus 2 gives you, oh, I'm sorry, that's a 4 right there. I fixed that. All right, 28 minus 4 is 24. 2 times 12 over here is 24. So these two values are the same, which proves to us that 14 is the correct answer. All right, so you should have several of those examples. You're going to have to do those on digits, and you'll have to apply that to the problems that you'll have on the test as well. So if you're still unfamiliar with this, please ask questions when I come back tomorrow. All right, so now we're going to move to what is called the area of circles. We all know, or you should know from elementary school and last year in the 6th grade, that the area refers to the inside space that a shape takes up, the amount of space a shape takes. All right, so first thing I want you to copy down is this question, and obviously the topic, area of circles. And the question is, how do I find the area of a circle? The area of a circle equals pi times the radius squared. And the formula that we're going to use for area is pi is area, A equals pi r squared. So A equals pi r squared. You will have to know this formula. All right, next thing. How do I find the circumference of a circle? We're going to take care of both of these at one time. And the formula for circumference is C equals pi times diameter. So I'm going to write right here, area slash circumference of circles. All right, so how do I find the circumference of a circle? The circumference is pi times diameter, and the formula for area is pi times r squared. So you will need to make sure that you totally understand these two formulas, because I cannot guarantee you that they will be provided for you on the test. All right, so we have an example of a pizza here. So we're going to use this as our first example. We see the distance halfway across this pizza from point A to B, or vice versa from B to A, is 5 centimeters. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this formula for area, pi r squared, and we're going to substitute the information that we have. All right, we know the value of pi is 3.14. That was one of your vocabulary words. We talked about the value of pi being 3.14. The radius is halfway across, which is 5. So I'm going to say 5 to the second power. Now, if you'd like to use a calculator, you can to do this stuff. If you'd rather do it by hand, you can. And all we're going to do now is just multiply the information together. Order of operations, so we have to do this exponents first. So 5 to the second power is 25. So that leaves us now 3.14 times 25. So we have 3.14 times 25 is 78.5. So our answer is 78.5 centimeters. And in math, when we find an area, we say squared. So it's 78.5 centimeters squared. Okay, that represents the area. For circumference, this circumference is C equals pi times diameter. Now you'll notice in the pizza picture, the radius is halfway across. So in this formula, we have to figure out the diameter. So I'm going to substitute the information in. 3.14 is our value for pi. Our radius is 5. So the way we find our diameter is 2 times the radius. Our radius is 5. So our diameter in this case would be 10. So we just double it. Then all we have to do now is multiply 3.14 times 10, and that will give you 31.4. So 31.4 centimeters represents your circumference. So we have our area for this pizza, and we also have the circumference for this pizza. And please make sure that you have this example down, please. All right, let's work this one together. All right, it says, which tiles describe a circle with a circumference of 3 pi meters or 4 pi meters? Now, I'm not so worried about the information on the right in terms of matching up. What I want to do is, I want to take just a couple of these. Let's take this one, and let me take this one, and then let's just do those two. So what I want to do is use the information there. Diameter equals 2 meters, and also the radius equals 1.5 meters. And what I want to do is I'm going to do the first one for you. So we're going to find the circumference for this one, and we're going to find the circumference for that one. Okay? Actually, I don't like this page. Just forget this page, okay? Now let's do this one. what is the circumference of a circle with a diameter of 4 inches? So, we know the circumference, the formula for circumference. And if you have to go back, if you have to flip through, go back because it's in your notes. The formula for circumference of a circle, just flip back in your notes if it's on another page. Circumference is pi times diameter. So we know the formula that we're going to use is C equals pi times diameter. And since we have the information given, if you want us to draw a circle, you can. We know the diameter of the circle is 4 inches, so if it helps you to draw it out, we know we're going to be dealing with a circle that has a diameter of 4 inches. So all we're going to do is we're going to substitute the information in. Pi is 3.14. Our diameter in this case is 4, so I substitute that in. So now we just multiply 3.14 times 4. And when you multiply 3.14 times 4, you get 12.56. And since this is in inches, we will say 12.56 inches right there. All right. This is a problem that students often have a hard time with. So please make sure you pay special attention to that. All right, I do want you to copy this entire problem down because it's so important in terms of the test. It says, what is the length of the tire track made by one rotation of the 20-inch wheel? So if this is your wheel, we want to know how long of a track it would make as this wheel spun one whole time. So imagine the wheel spinning, it's going to travel a certain distance. That's what we want to know. What is the distance that that tire will travel? Now the way you would do this, imagine taking a pair of scissors, cutting this tire in half, right there, and stretching it out. That would represent the distance. So if you think about it, what we're finding is the distance around that tire. And what represents the distance around the tire? That would be circumference. So we're going to find the circumference of this tire. What makes this tricky is understanding the rotation represents the circumference of the tire. All right, so we have a 20-inch wheel. So that means this wheel distance across is 20 inches. So let's plug everything in. 3.14 is pi. The diameter in this case is 20. So I multiply 3.14 times 20, and you get 62.8 inches. So our circumference, or our distance that tire would make the track with one rotation would be 62.8 inches. And it says round to the nearest tenth. It's already to the nearest tenth, so we just leave our answer right the way it is. All right, so let's move on now to the next question. All right, it says to the nearest tenth of a meter, what is the circumference of a circle with a radius of 3.4? Use 3.14 for pi. So our formula is circumference equals pi times diameter. We know the diameter represents 2 times the radius. In this particular problem, we have to use 3.14 for pi. And it says our radius is 3.4. Remember, the radius represents halfway across. In this problem, we have to use diameter. So if we have a radius of 3.4, in order to figure out the diameter, all we have to do is multiply that by 2. So if we multiply 3.4 times 2, we would get 6.8. So our diameter is 6.8. So now if we multiply 3.14 times 6.8, we get 213. I'm sorry, 21.352. I read it wrong. All right, so it says round to the nearest tenth. This 3 is in the tenths place. That means we look at that 5. That 5 is going to cause that 3 to round up. So our answer would be 21.4 meters. Now remember, sometimes you're going to be given the radius, and you'll have to find the diameter. So make sure you can convert from one to the other.